Hello, I'm Ryan Bennett, the Principal Planner for the Town of Chatham. I'm here with Peter Cocolis, the Planning Board Chairman, and we'd like to talk a little bit about 3 zoning articles that the Planning Board has sponsored for town meeting relative to the Conservancy and floodplain overlay districts within the Town of Chatham's protective zoning bylaw. The articles are number 29, 30, and 31 as they appear in the town warrant. And we would just like to touch on what those changes mean substantively relative to the Conservancy and floodplain districts.
Well, you know, the revised flood maps were approved by the annual town meeting in 2014. And those maps expanded the floodplain in many areas of the town. Now, in the past, the Conservancy District has always followed the floodplain. And there are 2 bylaws affecting homes that are in the floodplain with differing requirements. The homes that are now in the floodplain, the expanded floodplain, but weren't in the Conservancy District, now can elevate their homes and go to 30 feet. Once we move the Conservancy District up, if a home in that expanded area is 20 feet or less, it won't be able to elevate. And you also have the homes that are in the old Conservancy District, which are 20 feet or less, and they can't elevate. And we found this to be patently unfair. You need to be able to allow every home in a floodplain to mitigate the risk to that floodplain. And it's a matter of safety. Yeah, I understand the problem that deals with what does it look like in the neighborhood, what is it too big, what's it going to look like from the water. But our primary concern here is the balance, the safety among the homeowners, and also make sure that we're addressing what the real problem is, and that's the 1% chance of a floodplain in any particular year.
And the board was sensitive to the concerns that we heard in the community about preservation of scenic views and vistas, which is why this proposed maximum allowed height has been introduced with this proposed amendment, which would limit the maximum ridge height of a property to only the amount that they need to elevate their home. So that's a bit of a change from how the bylaw currently regulates height. But for this, given the unique situation within the floodplain and the existing development that's there and the need for property owners to elevate and mitigate, the board felt that this was a simple, sensible, balanced approach. Well, at the 2015 annual town meeting, the Planning Board sponsored an article referred to as the Shoreline Protection District. It was essentially a comprehensive rewrite that combined the Conservancy and floodplain districts. It was seen as perhaps too comprehensive a change for folks to really understand what was being proposed. So the Planning Board has revisited some of the necessary changes that needed to be addressed, but in a much more simplified approach. So by making specific changes in the floodplain district overlay and making specific changes in the Conservancy district overlay, the board has tried to address some of the challenges with the expanded 2014 flood map in a much more simplified approach. Well, it's important for a couple of reasons. One, flood insurance rates are expected to continue to rise annually until they reach an actuarial rate. We have a significant portion of our coastal and inland waterfront properties in the floodplain, and even more that were added to the floodplain as a result of the map change. So we want to be sensitive to how zoning restrictions in our Conservancy district, such as the 20-foot height restriction that Peter mentioned, may affect those properties if applied with an extension of the Conservancy district boundary.
I would also, I'd want to add in that what we have is a mismatch between the Conservancy district and the floodplain, and now that we have an extended, we're proposing an extended Conservancy district, there are homes that would be able to elevate and mitigate a flood risk, and then there would be homes that wouldn't be able to mitigate that risk. And we tried to find a way where we could have a balanced approach so that everyone could mitigate their flood risk. Just because for some reason a home is less than 20 feet, we want to at least give them the opportunity to mitigate the flood risk.
And we have a couple of graphics that we've been using to help illustrate this. There's what's allowed currently by special permit under the bylaw, and then there's what is proposed to be allowed by the planning board under this bylaw change. Those graphics help illustrate it and have been part of our public outreach effort.
Yes, it will. Our proposal is to do that. And again, just to reinforce the fact is that everyone would be able to mitigate their flood risk at the same amount. Yeah, a lot of that, a lot of the language that's in there is really redundant with building code requirements. And if you think of a bylaw that gets changed not very often, but the building code gets changed almost every year, you don't want to have that kind of an inconsistency between what's in your bylaw and what's in the building code. And it makes more sense, at least in our mind, that what you want to do is to reference the fact that the building codes have to be followed.